Thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin. I work with the Global Community Engagement and Resilience Fund. It's my pleasure to present to you today an interactive role play that will be put on from 6 stakeholders from the Western Balkans. These people have traveled from Albania, Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and have worked very hard to put on for you an interactive role play on what it looks like when a person returns from Syria to their country of origin. All of the people that are on the panel today are professionals. They are not actors and actresses. Well, we have one who is an actress. But they are professionals. They're in some way, shape, or form involved in the process. We even have representatives of government who are here today on the interactive role play. This is a very special event. We've tried to distill it down to about 25 minutes of a show. So there's some parts in particular at the end that we have not included, which also we don't really know how they'll play out in the decades to come. So with nothing further, we'd like to get this underway. Again, we have about a 25-minute interactive role play. Then there will be an opportunity for you to ask us any questions that you'd like about what you've seen or questions that you have about the rehabilitation and reintegration process. Scene 1, repatriation and arrival. The first 48 hours after a returnee lands on the tarmac of their country of origin.
My name is Rahma. I'm 55 years old and I went to Raqqa with my son, his wife and their 3 children. You see, my son was not employed and he and his wife, they became hooked with the Caliphate Declaration when they saw it online. She, my daughter-in-law, may God rest her soul, her name was Fatma, she was very ill. Someone who was already in Syria told them how the health facilities there were incredible, all free of charge and highly professional. They sold our house and everything we had as a family and we left. In the dead of night, we crossed over the border to Raqqa with the help of a smuggler. I was carrying with me my youngest granddaughter at the time. She was 1 year old. Fatma was very sick. A doctor at Raqqa examined her and said that she must be treated in Mosul, Iraq. My son joined the fight. And Fatma and me, we took the youngest children to the hospital and it took us about 8 hours to get there, and I have never in my life seen such conditions. No one was trying to keep it clean and there was human waste scattered everywhere in the bathrooms. I was in shock when I saw the reality. Fatma died later that month. My son that had joined the fight later got wounded. When we were in the camp was shelled and my other granddaughter was killed. Our lives had been shattered. I lost a granddaughter, I lost my granddaughter-in-law, my daughter-in-law, and I think in a way I lost my son. And I live every day regretting why I didn't do something to prevent them from going. My granddaughters are so traumatized that it is hard to console them.
My name is Sada. I'm 32 years old. I met Salman in high school. He explained to me about Imam Ramzi Memishi, and I started listening to him. Then Salman arranged for me to meet with Imam Ramzi Memishi. Actually, I was not aware that he is a self-proclaimed Imam. However, I was very attached to how he was explaining the importance of saving our brothers and sisters in Syria. My mother was very much against him, trying to persuade me that Imam Ramzi is not aiming to provide spiritual guidance, but personal satisfactions. Seeing how sincere Imam Ramzi was in speeches, I never believed my mother's arguments against him. My wife Fatma was sick, and Imam Ramzi told me that the hospitals in Syria all free, would heal me, would heal my wife. That was also another reason why I wanted to join my brothers. I made up my mind and my wife, well, she needed treatment, and of course she believed just as much as I did. What the Imam told us about Syria was, well, it wasn't all how he described. My wife died there. There was no health care that he promised. I joined the fight. That was what I could do. I was wounded and had to go back to the camp, which is when I found out that my eldest daughter had died from the bombing. I killed her. My decision to go killed her. I will never be the man I was. I'm not free. I'm not a free man. My mother is raising my daughters. My wife is buried elsewhere. My daughter is buried elsewhere. My soul is in pain.
Scene 2, triage.
I'm calling in relation to the organized return of our citizens from Syria. As you're aware, the meeting will be organized for tomorrow. So I'm just calling to remind you and see if you have managed to invite all the members of the multidisciplinary team.
Scene 3, first meeting of the multidisciplinary team in relation to the returnees that have just come home.
Thank you all for coming at such short notice. 20 women, 40 children and 4 men will be arriving tomorrow at 0600 from the Al-Rui camp in Syria. Let's go over the procedure for their arrival. I will remind you of the process of receiving the returnees. The men will be arrested at the airport and will be taken to the prisons for their criminal activities, which are punishable by our laws. Upon their arrival, the women and children will be provided with medical examination and health care. Our institutions will be providing the women and children with accommodation, food, clothes, and different personal supplies. An initial psychosocial evaluation will take place as well. They will also receive guidance on how to obtain legal documents and for the children to become part of the education system.
As a state security representative, I can report you that through the coordination with the local police, we have completed the security check of the families and local communities. Furthermore, I would like you to inform you that these checks show that the returnees are clear. For more information, I believe that other colleagues will tell us of their work with the accepting families.
As a representative of the Ministry of Health and Social Protection, I can inform you that we are undertaking all the necessary measures according to our standard operation procedures, and the reception center is ready to accept and accommodate the returning women and children.
I can confirm as a prosecutor that according to the law, the returning men will be detained upon their arrival at the airport. I have ordered for their arrest, meaning that they will be detained. I will be preparing the indictment proposal for each individual case, and they will be delivered to the court to continue with their procedure.
As a representative of the Ministry of Health, I confirm that we have a network of specialists ready to assess the returnees and respond accordingly. The first point of contact for them will be completed by our team of doctors. We will then be in a position to advise if they need any immediate treatment or further treatment, or if other multidisciplinary team members need to be contacted, and if they can provide provision of services and what those services will be. A report of each of the returnees will be prepared and shared with you accordingly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Scene 4. We're going back in time to the camp in Syria where the negotiation with the returnees is taking place.
Tonight, you will be moving out of the camp and you will be sent to another location. From there, tomorrow, you will be returning back to your country.
I have nowhere to go back to. Are you sure I won't be going to prison? Who will look after my grandchildren if I go to prison?
Rachma, we are doing our best to help you and your grandchildren, for you to go back to safety. That is the most important thing at this moment.
We have no home to call our own. Do you understand that my soul aches? Who will help us? Nobody wants us back.
The government of your country is willing to accept you back, and you will be taken care of after your return. There is nowhere where you are going back. The children will be safe. You will be safe. The hour is over.
Scene 5. Initial stages of the rehabilitation and reintegration process. Rachma, how are you feeling? Let me continue with these checks. These are just to make sure you are well. I have your blood tests back. The blood picture shows you are well. Your heart is well, and there's no reason for you to worry. Hi, Nera. All is well with Rachma. She has no contagious diseases. You may proceed with your work.
Rachma, hi. I'm glad that you're back, and I'm really sorry for your loss. But as a police officer, you know that I would like to have a small conversation with you. I need to ask you some questions, and I would like you to be honest with me. We know that you haven't seen your son who is incarcerated, and as you know, he was active in the fighting. Please, can you answer the following questions? Can you tell me, how did you go to Syria? Who helped you to go there? How did you enter? Which places did you live in, and why did you move from place to place? What have you done during your time there? And did you had any participation in Daesh activities? What was your son's involvement? You will also, can you also please look at these photos I'm showing you? And can you tell me if you recognize any of those people?
No, I do not wish
Every detail is important.
I do not wish to speak about anything, and I have no recollection about my time there. I just want the social worker, because I need some help with my grandchildren.
You will see the social worker now, but I will come back to continue our conversation.
Hi, Rachma. Hi. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Let me introduce myself properly. I'm Valmira. I'm one of the social workers working here at the reception center. This center is a public institution which aims to guarantee human rights and your social protection in order to ensure a more effective and coordinated rehabilitation process. As you have noticed during these days, you are being assisted by a multidisciplinary team of professionals consisting of psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists, and also educators. We will make sure that you receive every necessary service based on your needs. Of course, with your consent, we can also support you through psychological session or other psychosocial activities. These are for you and for your grandchildren. I have several years of experience working with different individuals who at certain moments in their life, they needed support. I should address you by what name would you prefer, Mrs.?
You can call me Rachma.
Okay, it's great. Well, before we even get started, I'm going to go through some confidentiality forms, as you can see here. And this form just stated that whatever we talk about stays between me and you. It will not leave this room. Is it okay? You need to sign those forms, but before you sign those, You need to read and go through it. And if you have any question or you need support to read it, I'm here and we may discuss firstly that. Let me tell you that I don't discuss your thoughts or feelings, but I do share general information with other team members here in the center. Anyhow, if you tell me something or anything that I might judge puts you or someone else at risk of harm, then it's my responsibility to act upon the information. Is it okay for you? Is there anything I've said so far that you do not understand?
I'm just a little bit nervous, that's all.
It's quite understandable to be nervous. I know this must be difficult, but the more information you can share is better, and I can better support you. Only by identifying concerns and your needs, we both can find better ways to address them.
I don't need any help, I will never be well again, but I need you to help my granddaughters. And you see, they need to be supported. They have lost their mother, they have lost their sister, and their father is in prison. You put their father in prison. What for? For nothing. You are simply punishing my granddaughters just by taking their father away.
How does this situation make you feel?
What do you think? How does it make me feel? It makes me angry. You should not be punishing little children. What if something happens to me? They will be all alone in this world.
We are looking after you and your grandchildren. And as you know, they're receiving some services here. A psychologist, as I told you before, is available for any concern that you might have.
I have heard all this before. Trust me, and all will be fine. Trust me. Why should I believe you? What makes you different? Why should I trust you?
Our institution have arranged for your return. I understand and I believe that you have been living through very difficult situation in the last years. I can imagine that many people could have misused your trust. But as I told you, I'm a social worker and it's my responsibility to support you overcoming these difficult moments. I know that every relationship needs time and goodwill from both parties. This is only our first meeting, but I would appreciate if you could give me the chance to openly discuss together and try to establish a professional relationship and trust.
Thank you.
And we can meet each other. We can meet each other and we can discuss about the plan. We can meet 3 times per week during this initial phase. Each meeting can last from 45 till 20 minutes. If you need more time, if you have other questions, and if you need support, I'll be available. You know my office. So, are you comfortable with this plan?
I think I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scene 6. Adam, the male returnee, is sentenced to prison.
On behalf of the citizens of this country, the basic court in a council of 5 judges on the criminal charge 332A, participation in foreign military, police, paramilitary or parapolice formation, paragraph 1, 2, 3 and 6 of the criminal code against the indictment of the accused Adam adopted the following verdict. The accused Adam is guilty as charged on account of the criminal offense of Article 332A, paragraph 3 and 6, and released from charges on accounts 1 and 2. The accused is hereby sentenced to 8 years in maximum security prison without any possibility for pardon.
I'm objecting this.
Be quiet, please.
I'm objecting
Be quiet.
this. How can
Based-
8 years? I
based-
can't 8
be-
years be without my
be
daughters,
quiet.
without my mom.
Be
There's
quiet,
so much.
please. For pardon, based on the paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 6. The court orders the prison to monitor the prisoner while the sentence is being served. The prisoner need to be kept isolated from the general prison population. who he might influence and
I
spread
reject this. How can I stay alone?
alone. Yes.
I am a human being. I need.
Please be quiet and spread his ideology and radical ideas that might lead to violence without the prison. The court ordered psychiatric assessment of the accused with the prison facilities and participation in rehabilitation and the rehabilitation programs which will prepare the prisoner to be reintegrated and rehabilitated into society.
You want me to
Regular,
rehabilitate without
please
people?
be quiet.
Without speaking to people?
Yes. Regular biannual evaluation and assessment reports on the rehabilitation process should be submitted to the court and probation officer for this case. This case is closed. Take him.
I'm objecting this. I cannot. I mean, you have to
it's
be.
not
I
time
want
to
to
object.
speak with some lawyer.
Now it's not time to object. Please take him.
Scene 7. Social worker and psychologist see Rahma as Rahma visits them at the center.
Hi, Rahma. Nice to meet you again. How have you been? It's been nearly a week that I haven't seen you. Did you settle at your new apartment? And how are your children? This is Kevin. He is the psychologist who will be working with you and that you are in this location.
Well, alhamdulillah, all is well. Tell me, Valmira, what is going on with the school? Will Amina register? You said that she could start soon?
Yeah, I've discussed it with the school director and arranged for her to be enrolled soon in the school.
But I don't want her to be bullied. Just please make sure that she goes to a good school. I don't want her to be called a terrorist.
The school that she'll be going has many activities that she can take part. There are many unusual activities that are held in here. There, it's close to your apartment. Give it some time. You have to trust, and the teacher and the whole process. We are in this together.
Good morning, Rahma. How are you? My name is Kevin, and I'm a psychologist. My job is to make sure that you and your grandchildren are adapting to your new environment and your new surroundings. I'd like to visit you about once a week so that we can talk. How do you feel about that?
It's nice to meet you. I mean, to be honest with you, everything is new to me. I know that I'm supposed to be back in my motherland, but I feel like a stranger. And, you know, my son is in prison and I really need to be taking care of my granddaughter, so it's very hard to take care of children who have lost their mother and their father.
I understand. You have had quite a journey these last few months, so feeling overwhelmed is not unusual. On top of that, the responsibilities you have for your grandchildren, it's a lot. I understand things may look scary, but I assure you, you're not alone, Rahma. My colleague Valmira and I are going to support you as much as we can.
That's good to hear.
Rahma, this is what you can expect. Weekly visits from me. We are going to use this time that we have together to talk about your worries. We are going to do some psychological assessments that will help me create a plan for you and your grandchildren with the purpose of ensuring your psychological well-being and, of course, theirs.
Well, you see, I can tell you that the girls are not well. You know, they're not sleeping through the night. They have nightmares. They wake in the middle of the night. I mean, I have the same problems. I also wake up in the middle of the night, but they keep wetting their bed and they're not eating well. And the only reason why I'm telling you this is because I need you to help them. I need you to call your doctors, visit them, do whatever you can just to make them feel a bit better. Give them medication, do whatever it takes.
We will do everything we can, Rahma. Scene 8. This is about 3 to 4 years down the road. Adam returns from prison to join his community. His sentence has been shortened due to good behavior.
Hello? Mother, assalamu alaikum. How are you, mother? Fine. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Every difficult has itself. I'm finally free. How are the daughters? Please give me to hear them, please. Oh. Yeah, I'm coming, my daughter. I'm coming. Yeah, I'll be soon home. Yeah. See you. Assalamu alaikum. See you.
Scene 11. Rakma is speaking to you.
I can tell you that the girls are better. They're doing well at school and they have started to laugh. They're feeling better, but I am being followed every day, and everything that I'm telling to people, they are monitoring. I'm really scared to be telling you everything. I know that they're following me the whole time.
Scene 9. Sometime later in the future.
I'll be starting to work. They promised to give me a grant. Maybe I will tend to bees, become a beekeeper. I've been reading a lot about bees and their importance. My girls need me, and I need to make up for the lost years.
Unfortunately, from the security aspect, this all doesn't look so great. This family will be under supervision for a longer period of time. We do have information that Adam's new wife is also visiting a preacher that is known to be linked to Imam Ramzi.
The girls, the children, are rehabilitating well. They take part in various activities that are being organized by civil society organizations in their community. The schools they attend have been very supportive, and they're making solid progress. The grandmother is not very well. The psychiatrist that visit her reports that she is delusional, but isn't yet receiving any medications. The work with this family is far from over. So these are our people. They can maybe quickly introduce themselves, and then we open it up for any questions that you might have about what you saw, what you didn't see. Again, these people are experts. They are involved with the process. They have met returnees. They work with returnees. They work with government officials. They are government officials. They are frontline workers. They are psychiatrists. They are psychologists. And they know everything about this process that one could possibly know. So, starting with Mr. Mensur Hoti.
Thank you very much. Hi to all of you. I'm Mensur Hoti. I'm Director of Department for Public Safety in Ministry of Internal Affairs in Kosovo. I'm also man in charge or head of coordination body for repatriation of our citizens from conflict areas. It will be my pleasure to answer to any kind of your questions. For sure, I will be better in that because it's the first time I'm active. So, thank you very much.
Hello to everyone. Sorry. My name is Alexandra Tsvetanovska. I'm the president of Macedonian Young Organization. I'm coming from North Macedonia, and we work on projects and for human rights protection.
Hello everyone. My name is Samet. My name is
Get out of the room.
My name is Samet Shabani, and I'm a Chief Executive of Association for Civic Activism and Encouraging Social Responsibility, Horizon Civitas. With the grant from the GSERV, we are working.
Thank you for your introductions. Again, my name is Kevin Osborne, and I work with Global Community Engagement Resilience Fund based here in Geneva. I've been a part of this programming, GSERV support to this work since 2018, thereabouts. We first started supporting these efforts in Kosovo under the tutelage of Mensur and his division. We later expanded our work into Albania and North Macedonia, and most recently into Bosnia and Herzegovina. Again, we are a grant-making and grant management organization that funds civil society organizations in 15 countries around the world, and these are 4 of them in which GSERV funds grants around the specific thematic of what CSOs can do, civil society organizations can do, to support the process of rehabilitation and reintegration through frontline workers, government institutions, and especially at the community level. Please, ask us your questions. Please, maybe introduce yourself and then ask your question. Thank you.
My name is Johanna Rosabekova. I'm a director of the Poland Institute, and so nice to see the practitioners, experts from the field. And we are here in Geneva, we are researching, trying to get information, analyze, and we highly appreciate your work. You are doing important work in the field, and thanks to you, I think Rebecca and you, also you, and all rehabilitation and reintegration processes are successful thanks to your job. And my question is regarding the repatriates in Kosovo. Kosovo repatriated a big amount, more than 100 women and children, and I would like to know about the role of family members. So the adaptation period in the adaptation center was only 72 hours, and then they immediately joined family members. And what was the main outcome of this? Because in other countries, for example, in Uzbekistan, they joined with family members, but first initial period was successful quite, but then they become a burden for family members, that there is a conflict among them family members, and it's quite, by the end, it's unsuccessful. At the first period, it's quite successful, but then many problems came. So what was the, you think it was quite successful, or you have many problems by the end? And do you have any re-radicalization among women?
Thank you. So there are no perfect solutions, and different countries decide on different treatment on those cases. What we have done in Kosovo is that we worked in both directions. We had some returnees coming back and join to their families, and we had some returnees we didn't want or didn't have conditions to go back, and normally we offered the place for them to live. In both cases, normally we had challenges. I totally understand the first part of reunion of the family, because they missed them and they want back and they wanted to see them, but normally, even in Kosovo, that will burden their family economy part. So we had that in mind from the beginning. Now the majority of the women which were returned, they are living in the house in which is provided by state, and we have few cases, but less complicated cases. Let's say complicated cases, the woman went from Kosovo with the husband and 2 children. The husband was killed there, she gets remarried and then comes back with 4 or 5 children. So those are a little bit complicated cases, and it's not very easy also to call the originated family to take them, all of them. So this has some challenges, not necessarily any recidivism in this case, but this work is still going on. We cannot, let's say that they are disengaged totally by what they believe and the reason they went there. For sure, most of them, they are regretting for what they have done. And the best part of all this, if we can say that there's the best part, is that the children are being resocialized and rehabilitated. They are going to school, they are normal children now, and you can come and see and compare when they came first in 2019 and look at the same children today, it's totally different picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Hello, thank you first of all for that great presentation. It's very interactive. My name is Amanda and I work at the Kofi Annan Foundation on the Extremely Together program, where we work on preventing violent extremism amongst young people in different parts of the world. My question pertained to the risk that's posed by the groups that these people were previously part of. If, for instance, the groups try to reinitiate contact or pose a certain threat, are there any mitigating strategies that are put in place, and what do you do? I think this question is for everyone, because you might have your different opinions on it.
Yeah, well, I can start,
Yeah,
and then
maybe we can have some country-based answers.
yeah, I think it's country-based response. For example, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we do not charge women for being in Syria and Iraq, mostly because it's really hard to find evidence of their participation in the military or any forms of violence over there. So as soon as they are put from a kind of emergency center and placed in their local communities with their families, because we return all women to their primary families, they are free women, as all of us. So we cannot really forbid them to do anything in their daily lives. But what we do is that we are trying to build that first contract, and that relationship between social workers, psychologists, and the women returnee is really important, because for each problem that she has, she is calling her social worker. So for example, we had several examples that when women returnees, for example, they would call their social worker at 3 a.m. because they couldn't sleep or they have anxiety or something else, and that social worker, would speak to her for half an hour or an hour on the phone just to give her some, emergency help. But how they develop this trust is that they are putting aside all of those groups that can pose risk to them, because they see what institutions, local institutions, can provide them, and they are well aware that if they return, and come back to some closer communities, is that they will not have that kind of help from the local institutions, from the social worker. Because, so for example, some of our attorneys remarried, and their husbands now are forbidding them to visit, social workers or psychologists. So they are now well aware, all of the other ones are well aware what can they lose if they return to previous life. But we do not use, those the radicalization programs or anything like that, because that's really, how can you measure that they are de-radicalized? But what we do is risk management, really, and disengagement. So for us, it's most important the kids, and then them to not engage in violence, and later how the trust, as the time passes by, we'll see what will happen.
Thank you, Nira. Samet?
As for North Macedonia, well, we had our first cases of police operations, let's say, that took part for sentencing people that participated in foreign wars in August 2015, and then we had a series of other police operations as well. But the sentencing years were more like 3 to 5 years, and that was all. And it basically went through some, based on the arguments that have. For example, we have a case when a doctor, a student of psychology went there, and actually he was back, and then in his charging he just claimed that actually he was there for humanitarian reasons. for being a doctor in a hospital of nurses. And given that there was no any proof that he actually participated in a war, but he was only in a function, let's say, etc. For example, there were some conditions that make him easy to get only 2.5 years or 3 years. So those are some of bases, but generally we had 3, and the maximum was 7 years from the first case. So if we consider that the first cases were in August 2015, and now we are in November 2022, it means that all of them now are out. And what we could see from the trends based on all the years is that there is a kind of, especially there is a kind of a breaking moment of all the case was when the leader of the group, who was charged for 7 years, the self-proclaimed imam, which was somehow within the story as well. Yes. When he actually somehow he accepted being guilty, and with those conditions he get only 7 years, because he was supposed to get accordingly he was supposed to get 22 years in total. So somehow from these easy conditions, etc. And now the group felt betrayed, because they had a kind of promise that they will not accept they will not accept to be guilty. And when the main guy actually said, yeah, I'm not accepting, these all other guys felt betrayed. And that was a very breaking moment in the courts, when the first courts take part. And afterwards, so this somehow made that moment of each of them trying to look their own future. Now they are out, and I won't say that all of them has changed their mindset, but there is no trend of somehow trying to reorganize themselves in a way they were just like 1 decade ago when they started.
Thank you, Samit. And
Sorry,
Mansour, of course, I know you're also...
Just one sentence.
Yes,
About
yes.
North Macedonia. Yes, and we work active with the local community and the teams to those people to be accepted in the local community. And this is maybe the longest process, but is really useful for them after the prison. I speak about North Macedonia.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Mansour, of course,
Just
in his
shortly,
role is involved
just
in a lot of
shortly, the
surveillance
perspective of the
activities.
government.
Yeah.
NGO's perspective is bright, looking good. So are we concerned of your specific question? Yes, for sure. Did we lose a battle years ago when hundreds of our citizens were there? Yes, we did also that. Are we doing everything that is in our hand to prevent that from happening again? Yes. Can we do it again? No. So now we need, let's say, a holistic approach in this. We need everyone's engagement in this, civil society, Islamic community, all organizations which might be in some form stakeholders. Does the risk exist? Yes. Why the situation has changed, all of you know. This situation has changed because the situation in the field has changed. When the Daesh controlled the territory, most of the families consider that part of a life like a good part of the life. So that's reality. And what we are doing right now is that we are working our current strategy, national strategy, first of all, to ask all the possible stakeholders to join us in those efforts. We are not afraid that we will not in position to monitor some specific names which we need to monitor, but without the help of all of our society members, we will not make it. And it's always possible that in the next conflict that may be spread out somewhere, few of our citizens will try to join that. So yes, the risk is there. We are considering it, but at the same time, we are taking these measures through our national strategy documents and other documents to get involvement of anyone, and at least if nothing more, to get information in time about possibility, let's say, of someone taking part somewhere.
Thank you, Mentor. We have time for maybe 2 more questions. You've had your hand up, and we'll take you in next. So 2 questions. Yes? A short one, so we can have 3 of them. Please.
All right.
We take the 3 questions, and then we'll answer them in a row.
Sure.
How's that sound? Yeah?
That sounds good. Thanks. My name is Tarek, and I'm a master's student here at the Graduate Institute. So going off what you were both saying about reintegration and de-radicalization, I'm wondering what is the role, if any, for religion in de-radicalization? Have you found that connecting, because they're ideologically driven, I would assume, connecting them with more tolerant or humanistic, holistic approaches to the religion from community imams in the different countries that you work in? I'm wondering, perhaps in different countries, whether you've approached this or not in any way.
Thank you, Tarek.
Thank you. Glaucia Boyer, UNDP Global Advisor on Reintegration. Fantastic simulation by a multinational group of practitioners. A fantastic way, interesting way of conveying all the process. There are many aspects that we could analyze. One of the most blatant ones for me is this aspect of all men go to prison, women go to special centers for being taken care of. How come is that there is evidence to prosecute men and there is not evidence in the case of women? This is just one of the many questions that I would have, but your reflections on this aspect would be interesting to hear.
Thank you very much. Last question.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is on when drafting national policies on the policy of rehabilitation and returns. My concern is, have you looked at some of the root causes? I see from your simulation that the role of women is quite active in that. And I was wondering whether you had a particular gender perspective on post-conflict scenarios where you can integrate the role of women instead of being perpetrators, but the role for them to be peace builders and actually bridges towards countering violent extremism. And also the integration of what said my colleague on religious communities, because my fear is that you stigmatize women further in these communities and you isolate them from religious communities to where they left in the first place to join. And so as a country that, coming from a country that borders both Iraq and Syria, I feel that this model on countering violent extremism really needs to be revisited from a lot of aspects, and also the role of reporting, seeing as this there's a lot of ideological, economic root causes and concerns. Also, I feel that the mental health and family health of the situation should precede in importance when looking at security concerns in that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you mind just introducing yourself?
Yes, my name is Rubina Kneiti. I'm an international security analyst from Jordan.
From Jordan.
Yes, I used to take courses here.
It was not a short question.
So I'm gonna ask Mansour to field the question on the approach men versus women. I'm gonna ask Samet to talk a little bit about the de-radicalization aspect and the role of religion and the root causes. Yeah, if you want that one. So
something to add for the religious community, but however, I mean,
sure,
I can
sure. And just also to mention, Tarek, that this word de-radicalization, I know that it makes Mansour cringe when he hears it.
No, that's, so starting just shortly in everything what we have discussed. We consider Islamic community one of the main actors in this aspect. And maybe the main actor when we discuss about the ideology issues, because I cannot go to that and to try to discuss with someone who is filled with that ideology. We must accept also that. So even in that aspect, all of our countries, we had failed. So it was a time when the Islamic community was overloaded with, let's say, donations from outside. They have opened some so-called mosques somewhere, the real mosques, and the result was, let's say, more than 300 citizens from Kosovo went to Syria to free that holy space. I'm Muslim too, I know what Syria means and the name of Syria and everything. So why we are in this particular position is that for us, Islamic community is very good partner. We work in daily basis with them. I know all of them from the head and all of them, so few of them are my friends. But it seems that they don't really do and feel the need to do what they need to do. So because if someone is attacked in this whole process, it's Islam. It's not someone else. They are not representing Islam. They are not representing me. So they are not Muslims. And we lost a kind of territory in this aspect by trying to create contra-narratives. At the moment that you will be forced to create contra-narratives, you just lost because someone else created narratives. And it's not that we had that possibility in Islamic community to create contra-narrative for each narrative. And I'm speaking about thousand and thousand narratives created by so-called imams in social media. And maybe in few times, 1, 2 contra-narratives for specific thematic by Islamic community. So what we are doing right now is that we are asking and trying to help Islamic community to be more active like all other aspects of society and to do their job. They are being paid to do their job, to protect Islam, to protect Muslims, to protect their organization. So they should do their best to do that. We miss that, like we miss that in state institution level. About the women, it's not the case that we wanted to separate women from men, because all of them went together, majority of them went together. Why we didn't, let's say, send them to prison, it was lack of evidence that they were actively engaged in fighting. And it's totally different situation for males. We had pictures, videos, lot of intel, battlefield evidence that they didn't hide that. They went live in social media, in fighting areas or doing even worse things. And we had cases with 2 Kosovars, like Ladri Muhajiri, going online all the time that he was trying to kill someone or beheading someone. In Kosovo, the women, when sent to the court, they were sentenced, but they were sentenced with suspended sentences. The reason for this was that they didn't have evidence, and at the same time, after this, very important aspect, we had 74 children coming back with those women, majority of them orphans with one parent, 9 of them orphans without parents. So we didn't want to take that burden and trying to take those kids away somewhere. So this was the reason. In Kosovo, they are sentenced to minimum 2 years of suspended sentences. They just went, and at that time they were monitored, but they were not sent to the prison. About the role of the woman, shortly I will close. We have women engaged, or let's say if this are particular problem, majority of the workers and first liners are women. And that doesn't include just social workers or psychologists, but also representatives of Islamic community. Because we feel the need and we know that the returnees needs to have access and discuss with someone which will try to explain the, let's say, the religion. It's not easy. They are well accepted. To be honest, most of us were surprised how they were accepted in our countries. Maybe it's different situation in some European countries and some other countries, but major in the Kosovo, and I know also for colleagues, they were accepted good. About the role of their, let's say, if we discuss about the gender, if we discussed about the women's returnees, it's not, unfortunately, that they have any kind of knowledge, not even in religion, but also in other fields. Most of them, they had just elementary school, and then maybe that was the main reason why they were radicalized to that level, to take children and go to Syria and lose half of the family there. We are trying to work on that. We are working together. Even here in this panel, we have more women, females than males, and we are considering an important part of what we are doing. And in few specific cases, just women are engaged in this, because those wives which came back from there, it's not that they will accept a man inside their own family or houses to discuss with them. So we have this in consideration. Any specific advice in this particular aspect will help us, because we are now in the time finishing our final draft on strategy on CP and CBE, and I really appreciate if you can continue to contact me, or we can contact together, and you will see what we have prepared, and then you will, let's say, give your comments, and then we will come back to you with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mansour. Nera and Valmira are just going to give like 30 seconds, because I know that our time is up.
Answer really shortly. First, your question. We are now conducting a study with all of the returnees, females and males. And our first kind of, I can say, preliminary finding is that the religion had the least kind of root cause for their departure. It was mostly social aspects, economic aspects, some also psychological aspects of their conditions. So really using any kind of religion in countering narratives or so-called radicalization is not going to be productive in the reintegration and rehabilitation process for them. So the second question is now when forming the strategy in Bosnia and Herzegovina for countering terrorism, which has to be adopted, which will be adopted by the end of the year. I was one of consultants for them to draft, and I can say that we are now the first country in the Western Balkans that is taken the gender aspect of the terrorism, of the process of radicalization, but also on dealing with all forms of violent extremism, but not only counting women and men, how many women are working or not working with them, or what role women has, but generally kind of all of those gender elements that are taking part in the process of radicalization of men, mostly toxic masculinity, and why they left at the first part, and also kind of why women chose to leave with them. One part is kind of, I'm really glad that you mentioned stigmatization, and your question was really perfect, because what we're trying to do now is that we're trying to work with these women and we're not in any way kind of questioning their religion or questioning their ideas, because it's not our job to do that. Psychologists are advising us all the time at what stage they are of their psychological treatment or something like that, but they have to be kind of kept away from these closed areas. For example, from Bosnia, all of men and women who departed to Syria and Iraq went from their primary families into some villages which were closed. Even police wasn't kind of allowed to go to those places. So they all departed, almost all of them, like 95% from those closed areas. So what we're actually doing is that we are putting them back in the primary families and rebuilding the trust between primary families and women, because they will need long-term support after kind of the local, in their process of rehabilitation. So we will see. And your question is, it's really complex kind of to say why we didn't charge women, especially in Bosnia. But I remember when the departure happened, firstly it was really lack of evidence, but also our social care and foster care is really lacks funding. So the social workers and psychologists from the field, together with the prosecutor, decided that it was much better for mothers to stay with their kids and to enter this process of rehabilitation and reintegration within the local communities, and not to go to court and then to go back and forth, because our law is a bit different than in the other countries in the Western Balkans, and they are looking for active participation, so not only departure, but active participation, so it was really hard for us to charge even men.
I can tell you since the beginning, I've 20 years of experience working in with different vulnerable groups, but when I had the possibility to work with the professionals directly with these cases, it was something totally different. So we learn through the process. We cannot say that we doubt and we have done the best job that we could ever, but we learn through the process, and I believe that if we're working all together, it could be more simple. Of course, there are gender issues, and we are working in different layers, let's say macro, meso, and micro level, and we could not be working just one case divided, but we need to see the whole systematic approach, holistic one. So from my point of view, these are some exercises that we needed as professionals, and the cases that we were dealing in Albania were very, very difficult. And still we have difficulties. All of them now, there are 37 cases that are returned in the community, and we are facing a lot of challenges. And I think what we are doing best is that we have tailored individual plans for all of them. And we are revising them, and we're meeting each other, let's say, monthly, frequently, and collaborating with each other. This is the only way we can do better things, from my point of view. Doesn't matter if we are wherever in Balkans.
Thank you, Valmira. So this brings us to the end of the session. We'll hang around for a few minutes if you have additional questions. The role of GSERP in all of this, and the expectation of the GSERP board, and we have a few representatives here in the room, is to elevate the profile of these important issues that revolve around prevention of violent extremism and provide support to engage civil society in this whole of society approach that Mensur mentioned. We feel that we've done that on this topic of rehabilitation and reintegration. We wanted you to see that it's possible, and we wanted you to see how it's possible. So we hope that we've illustrated that well today. Thank you again for our delegates from the Western Balkans that have come to join us, the colleagues from the Secretariat who worked really hard on all of this. I mean, it's not easy to put together a script. These people are real professionals. And to do this, there's a lot of government officials that would not agree to get up and act out what they do on a daily basis. But Mensur does it in his sleep. So thanks a lot, and have a great rest of your week. Cheers.